Hey, Drew. I know you wanted to do a quick run through of these, really my process to pull content down from web pages and transforming it into Markdown. So here we go. I think it's the first time I've ever done one of these specifically for shortcuts. It's kind of been my like private superpower. At any rate, all right. So where do we start? So the biggest thing that to start out with is to go and make sure that you are using this show and share sheet. And so where this happens is typically when you're on a web page, there's this icon here to the left, the box with the arrow coming out. Typically it's used to, send stuff places, send stuff to specific apps. In this scenario, this places this specific shortcut and makes it available for any place you want it. And so in our case, this is specifically for, Safari, right? And so you start out, and you have the share sheet available. You can kind of contour what type of content you want to have. So notice I've gotten rid of the majority of these, and really the only thing you need is a URL. And so that's the only thing I've chosen. And as you saw here, this input from the share sheet, if there's no input, I basically just said no URL, and I gave that the error. And so this is actually pretty interesting here. I did not know you can do this, but basically this get article function is a part of the Safari reader. So if you use Safari specifically, the browser, it has this reader mode, and, it takes URLs, and the result is this article. And then some of the attributes of the article are the body text, author, published date, and probably a few other things. So I'll be using really the author, probably the body text and the title and the published date, usually is a part of the metadata. And so that's what I'll be using for a lot of this. So kind of speaking to that, this is the variable name, but specifically I've targeted the body. So these are the different attributes of an article. I guess it's an article variable that you get when you transform it from the reader. And so say for instance, if I wanted to change that to author, that would change the author, but obviously we care about body. And so right now, this step transforms that text to Markdown. And so this is natively built into, I'm probably favorite that. This is natively built into iOS. Just to make life easier, what I did is I set it as a variable. I don't necessarily have to do this, but I feel like this is cleaner than having, the text that just says make Markdown from rich text is kind of gnarly. So, and so from this area right here, after the set variable article body Markdown variable, this is really kind of the payload of what I'm adding to the Markdown file. So I kind of hard coded the title. And so this is the title of the actual web page. The body, which is basically the meat of the overall article, I've added that there. And then I have this section underneath that goes with anytime I'm saving a Markdown file this way. I have a kind of header 3 as the beginning of the section to indicate the publishing details. So I have a published date. Sometimes that's filled in, sometimes it's not. The URL right here, the URL has to be filled in, mainly because, you can't even get any of this data without the URL. So it's kind of table stakes. And then from here, I've renamed this magic variable. And so I'll call it magic variable because, so let's kind of do this long pause. actually change that back to what I'm supposed to change it to. Clear variable, let's change it back to change that back to that. So with this, you can probably look, these are all the variables that are available. I'm taking this is the actual text I've renamed. I've really kind of renamed this variable. It used to be just text, that's the thing above it, to actually make it make sense. And then this extracted text is just the file within the Files app where I'm going to save it. So I created a file path named extracted text, and that's where I'm saving it. And by default, I forgot what name it gives it. Not a really good one. So what I have done is taken the title that comes from the article and then rename that saved file, because that variable is still available. We still know what the file is, even though we don't know specifically what the name is. We know that it exists. We know we created it. So we're going to just change that to be title. So one thing that I will do for you is basically, export this, and I'll probably just give you, steps that you can fill in. I'll probably just give you the iCloud link for this specifically. But I mean, that's really about it. What I'll probably do another video for is how I compile all of these Markdown files. But that's it for this one. All right, so finally, I'm going to show you how this thing works, putting it together. For this latest compilation, I am going to take some posts from Morgan Housel, really good guy to think about money, just like a really good thinker. So I'm going to take some blog posts, pull them down. What I have captured or showing on the right side is the files folder and the extracted text folder that I specifically was talking about in the other two videos. And so here, I am going to, I guess you start with some of these things that are actually just like wisdom. So I'm going to click on one of the blog posts. I'm clicking on the share sheet. And then you see the save article text to Markdown. And so once I click on this, it's going to basically just save to our extracted text path or folder. So here, boom. And so I can really kind of just work through a lot of these. So a few laws of getting rich. That sounds pretty cool. I'm gonna hit the share sheet. I'm probably just gonna do about 3 of these. So save article to Markdown. And so let's take a look at a couple of these before we get going on another one. So here you see, as we talked about before, the title at the very top as a header. And then throughout, you just see, this is not a really good one for Markdown. You kind of see some of the text or some of the indentations there. And then you see the, at the bottom, the collection of the publishing details. So this was a little bit light on the Markdown part. Hopefully another one will be a little bit better. All right, so here's a good one. There's an italicized, there's a quote there, another italicized. And then ultimately at the end, you have the publishing details. Let's do another one. All right, so I'm going to hit, we're going to do save to Markdown. And let's open this one up. So yeah, so you see the the link specifically. And so it translated that link to be Markdown style. You see the italicized is. And you see the bold where it says there's more to learn from people who endured risk right here. And so ultimately you also see the article publishing details. So these are kind of the things that allow it to give some structure to it. And see the HR line, the rule at the bottom underneath the article publishing details. All right, so I believe we have enough. 3 is probably a good number. So let's compile all of these. So in order to do this, you have to select 3. So we go 1, 2, 3. And then we'll hit the share sheet. This time it'll be on the file side. And so we can probably make this full screen. All right, so we're going to share. In the share sheet, we're going to select combine text files. So with this, it's going to do work. What should we call this? How about the wisdom of Morgan Housel? Because a lot of wisdom. All right, so hit done. And so what it'll do is combine all 3. And so now that we see 3 items within Wisdom of Morgan Housel source, we can now delete these files. And so let's check to see if all 3 are in there. First one is A Few Laws of Getting Rich. Need to study that one. And let's go down further. This is a particularly long one. So you see we've continued the article publishing details, and we start the next article, which is the thin line between the bold and reckless. And then we see that ending right there at the very top, the ending of that article publishing details, and the final article, which is Smart Things I've Read Lately. And we have all that. And ultimately at the end, you have the article publishing details. And let's just double check here. So these are all 3 of our files independently, just in case we wanted to either add more to this compilation or do something else with it. So we have it there. As you can see, I did this with Justin Jackson. This was my approach here with him. And then also Paul Graham. I have like 15. So there might be a Paul Graham custom GPT in the near future. So let me know what you think of this process, how useful it is, or if you have any kind of adaptations